As the group reached the shore, the dangerous merfolk that had chased them retreated, seemingly unable to step on land. Though many of the attackers had been defeated, none dared to follow. The team, exhausted from the intense escape, immediately began tending to their wounds, using a special liquid to cleanse the blood and lake water from their bodies. The protagonist, strangely unaffected, refused the same treatment offered by Edmund, which caught his attention. Looking back at the lake, the protagonist fixated on the sheriff's swollen corpse. Requesting to keep it, he quickly returned with a sack and some knives, handling the body like he'd done it before, cold, precise, and efficient. His actions left an impression on Edmund and his team, especially his eerie yet composed demeanor. Edmund noted that the protagonist might possess a rare plant-related condition, something highly valued in their ranks, making him a strong contender in the assessment. Juliana, observing his lifeless presence paired with a life-symbolizing ability, found him unusually contradictory. Meanwhile, the protagonist silently reflected on the other's strength and mental toughness, knowing they were far more experienced. Though joining them could offer safety and information, it could also expose his inexperience. Keeping a cautious distance felt safer. Without wasting a moment, the protagonist stepped into the sister's room as instructed. The moment his foot touched the ground, a chilling sound echoed beneath him. The floor wasn't just damp, it was layered in sharp, glistening fish scales, some stuck so deeply they seemed to grow from the floor itself. A wave of foul, stomach-turning odor hit him instantly, thick enough to make anyone sick. But unlike before, he stayed calm, quickly creating a simple plant mask to block the stench. He noticed something odd. In the middle of this disgusting scene, a wooden desk stood untouched. Not a single fish scale or drop of mold had dared settle on it. Framed photos set neatly on top, showing a once-close sibling bond. The sister's curly hair and cheerful expression in the photos clashed with the horror that now filled the room. Pushing open the bathroom door, he saw the truth. The sister lay in a bathtub, restrained, pale, and nearly lifeless. Her brother was trying to pull the scales off her body by force, leaving blood everywhere. She had stopped screaming, barely conscious. Only a patch of scales remained. Seeing this, the protagonist calmly offered help, surprising the brother with his deep understanding of the illness. With permission, he moved closer, ready to act. The protagonist joined a quiet dinner at the inn where elegant dishes were served with rich colors and tempting aromas. As they ate, the innkeeper gently asked if the protagonist had uncovered the truth about the town. The protagonist explained that he had a rough idea of a strange infection spreading through Green Lake Town caused by contact with its water. He described 3 clear stages of transformation. First, those infected began growing fish scales and developed a desire to stay underwater while still appearing mostly human. Second, their bodies changed drastically, becoming more like sea creatures. Finally, in the last stage, they returned to land, appearing human again but fully conscious of the change. Impressed, the innkeeper asked why he chose to help them instead of eliminating the threat. Calmly, the protagonist replied that he was still learning and was only doing what felt right. Just then, chaos broke out outside the inn and the sound of an explosion filled the air. The innkeeper explained that since some visitors had avoided infection, tonight had been chosen as the forced transformation event. But as long as they stayed inside, they would remain safe. Far from the chaos, a group of mysterious men stood on a hill, watching the small town descend into total disorder. Their strange outfits seemed to react to the blood in the air, almost alive with tension. One of the men, heavy and round, suggested that the experiment should be stopped by morning, predicting that very few people would survive until then. His idea was quickly accepted by the others, even the strict elder among them. While most focused on the violence in the town's center, something unusual caught the eye of the elder with the white owl. At the edge of town, 2 infected people quietly sneaked out from an inn, pushing a cart loaded with 6 bodies wrapped in jelly-like material. One of the bodies belonged to a young man who had caught the elder's attention earlier. They rolled the cart to the lake and dumped the bodies in. Then the 2 silently dove in after them. But the bodies weren't real corpses. They were decoys, created to hide the real one, each in. Hidden beneath the lake, he used his training and special gear to survive, completely fooling everyone. Unseen, a hidden eye on the back of his head watched everything, revealing terrifying sights, parasite eggs near the surface and disturbing half-human forms transforming deep below. In a dark, damp laboratory deep beneath the waters, a strange and ancient creature sat recording data with eerie focus. Its fingers looked like tentacles and its face was too twisted to even understand. The jars around it were filled with thousands of tiny fish eyes, one of which suddenly burst. Though it sensed something watching, the feeling faded and it returned to its work. Somewhere far from this nightmare, the protagonist found himself staring directly at this strange being. The sight was so overwhelming that he nearly lost control of his mind. As the creature turned its head slowly, fear gripped his soul. It felt like something was about to rip him apart from the inside. But just when everything seemed lost, a voice cried out, pulling him back to his senses. In an instant, he was back in his body, lying deep at the bottom of Green Lake. The massive eye that once threatened him was lifeless now, and the small creature resting within him had fallen into deep sleep, saying it would only wake during extreme danger. However, danger wasn't over. Merfolk sensed his presence and rushed toward him. But just in time, a white blur swooped down, lifting him out of the water in a flash, tearing through the threat with sharp speed and power. With only 2 minutes left, the protagonist rushed to the gathering point where 4 carriages stood ready. A crowd chased after him, but just then, a familiar face, Dagobert, reached out from one of the carriages, pulling him inside with impressive strength. Alongside Dagobert sat the calm and confident blonde-haired man, Edmund. Without hesitation, the carriage sped away from the chaotic, foul-smelling town. Inside were 6 people. 2 strangers were badly injured, one wrapping his waist in bandages, the other tending to a wounded arm. Compared to them, Edmund's team had fared better. Dagobert had only a light bandage, and a quiet girl rested, clutching her side. Edmund himself had a small cut on his cheek. Among them, the protagonist remained unhurt, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Edmund curiously asked how he had made it from the dangerous lakeside when everyone else avoided it. Calmly, the protagonist said he spotted an opening, nothing more. Impressed, Edmund shared that the headquarters, Zion City, was only 3 hours away, chosen for its close monitoring. Leaning back, the protagonist tried to rest, but haunting memories and troubling thoughts wouldn't let him sleep. Even checking on the growing creature inside him left him uneasy. After a long, steep journey, the carriage finally rolled off the rocky path and onto a smooth stone-paved road leading to a place called Zion City. The area looked more advanced, with evenly spaced black lamp posts using electric lights, something the protagonist hadn't seen often in this world. Until now, everything felt stuck in an old age where candles and oil lamps were common and transportation ran on horses. This new glimpse of electricity made him question the timeline and how progress worked here. Little Grape suddenly shared something called the Gray Zone, a mysterious force spreading everywhere and affecting how electricity works. It didn't just block technology, it turned it harmful. Light bulbs could damage skin, phones whispered disturbing sounds, and televisions spread the sickness visually. Because of this threat, humans had to abandon electric technology and return to older methods, except in safer cities like Zion, where some power systems were still preserved. The protagonist wondered what the strange sickness really was and where it came from, but even Little Grape didn't know. Just then, the carriage stopped and he was told it was time for a major evaluation ceremony, one that could change his future. As the protagonist explored deeper into the mysterious city of Zion, he became intrigued by its unique structure. The area they entered, known as the Street District, was built in 3 connected layers, upper, middle, and lower, stacked inside a mountain. These layers were linked by elevators, stairways, and arch bridges, but the entire design felt confusing, almost like a maze. The streets had strange iron gates, twisting paths, and lacked a clear route, making navigation difficult unless someone was already familiar with the layout. The buildings stood tall and narrow with dark Gothic designs, giving off a heavy and eerie feeling. Some homes stretched across different layers, stacked from bottom to top. While it looked inconvenient to outsiders, the protagonist realized this layout served 2 purposes. It suited only the trained members of the organization and could easily be used to block off sections in case of any crisis spreading through the city. He noticed the people of Zion moved with sharp precision, their strength hidden in their graceful motions. Even the average person seemed more powerful than those from outside. Strange shops were scattered around, guarded alleys raised questions, and bizarre creatures roamed with their owners, monstrous beings used as companions in battle. Later, as they crossed a stone bridge, a mysterious figure wearing a bird-beak mask appeared, drawing everyone's attention. The protagonist and the others are led into an important and mysterious mansion that plays a key role in the organization's history. This place is where every new member receives a special item called a skin, which is necessary to be recognized as a true gentleman. The entrance to the mansion feels grand and strange, with a huge, 10-meter-high door that seems designed for something beyond human. 2 guardians open the doors, men dressed in long robes made of stitched animal skin. Even their own skin appears sewn together with visible stitches on their faces and bodies, giving a disturbing and eerie feeling. Inside, the atmosphere remains intense. The group doesn't go upstairs but is taken to a side room that looks like a formal meeting hall. There, they face the man who supervised their test. Sitting confidently with a white owl on his shoulder, he praises some of them and begins explaining how their performance will be judged. Scores decide their place in this world, higher scores bring better rewards. Only a few might earn the chance to meet the top leader and receive something truly rare. But the grading is known to be very strict, especially under the watch of the serious old examiner. The protagonist felt an overwhelming pressure as he stepped deeper into the official residence. Instead of helping, the man beside him simply waited. After a moment, the protagonist regained control of himself. The man then hinted that next time he should try to resist this influence on his own. They still had some distance to go before meeting the mysterious figure at the center of it all, but first, the man had a few personal questions. He asked about the strange events at the lakebed. The protagonist shared everything, how a powerful mental force had invaded his mind, how he was pulled into a strange underground lab in his thoughts, how music echoed through him, and how a fish-shaped figure with ancient markings appeared above him. But before he could mention a particular ancient name, the man immediately stopped him. He warned that speaking such names could bring real danger and reveal hidden locations tied to mysterious powers. Since it was the first time, he let it go, but this incident showed the protagonist was ready to meet their leader. When the man learned the protagonist had no formal training and still managed to defeat a dangerous enemy, he was shocked. The man realized that someone this unique could become a great asset. They continued downward into a hidden, candlelit chamber deep below, which looked like an old chapel. Yet, instead of peace, it gave off an eerie, suffocating feeling. There were no windows, only candles set into stone, as if the place wanted nothing to do with the light above. After giving his all in Green Lake Town, the protagonist finally gets the reward he long deserved, something that had always escaped him before, no matter how hard he tried. But while he now holds the powerful gentleman's skin, its true purpose remains unclear. Curious, he asks an elder in the mansion what it's meant for. The elder explains that the skin doesn't give direct abilities but acts as a medium. Once activated through a ritual, it connects the user to a system of continuous personal growth, allowing humans to evolve beyond their natural limits. This system is why the organization exists, gathering in a city called Zion to fight for humanity's future. Before the ritual begins, the protagonist learns that once the skin is activated, his consciousness will be drawn into a place known as the Hall of the Old Days. There, he will receive 1 to 3 mysterious letters based on his traits, each tied to a future path. He may only choose one. The color of the letter, white, blue, black, or purple, represents the type of profession it unlocks, from common roles to rare specialists, and even darker, more dangerous professions meant for those who handle the most difficult tasks. The protagonist stood inside a mysterious hall, facing 3 colored envelopes, each one representing a different path for his future. His choice would determine his position in Zion City, his lifestyle, how far he could explore the world, and even how long he might survive. This wasn't something he could rush. With no time limit mentioned, he decided to take his time. Hoping for some guidance, he tried to summon his trusted helper, but only his consciousness had entered the space. To stay calm, he focused like he used to during scientific research. He first examined the blue envelope. The design hinted at a connection to plant-based strength, aligning with the crystal he had absorbed earlier. He remembered how useful plant abilities had been during a past challenge, but he kept exploring. Next, he studied the black envelope. As he stared at its eerie artwork, a black mist reached his nose, dragging his mind into a vision. A lone skeleton floated across dark waters, its decayed face resembling his own. This shocked him. The scene felt familiar, something tied to his past struggles, maybe even the strange experiences that brought him here. He suspected the black envelope connected to a role of dealing with nightmares, offering great power and possibly danger. Finally, he checked the purple envelope. It was elegant and marked with a book symbol, suggesting knowledge and study. Tiny engravings hinted at details beyond normal human sight. He wondered if this whole hall was a mental space shaped by thought, and if so, could he influence it with his will? The moment the protagonist regained consciousness, he noticed the presence of an important man named Chamberlain. Even though his mind was still a bit foggy, he could sense the tension around him. Everyone, from the officials to the observers, was staring at him with curiosity. Chamberlain stepped closer, guided by the cry of a white owl on his shoulder. He gently pushed aside the protagonist's hair and examined the back of his head. What he saw shocked him. A strange and perfectly shaped symbol resembling an open book was formed in the folds of his brain. It looked as if the symbol was alive, with tiny shifting letters moving across it like pages being turned. Chamberlain, stunned, couldn't speak for minutes. Then, regaining his composure, he officially declared that the ceremony had been successful. Everyone had received their assigned roles. But before their real training began, they were given 2 days to complete their custom-made clothing. Without proper attire, their progress would be delayed. While others started planning their time, One boy invited the protagonist to join him, but Chamberlain quickly interrupted. Due to the protagonist's unusual condition, Chamberlain announced he would personally handle his stay and clothing. He then took the protagonist to a high-end restaurant for a private meeting. Guided by a senior figure, the protagonist crossed through an archway and took an elevator down to a place called the Lower Street. This underground area was built on 3 different levels, each with its own style and rule. The deeper one went, the more relaxed things became, with fewer restrictions and more casual, even shady, businesses. The environment felt less formal, focused on amusement and personal escape. The senior figure explained that while most expert tailor shops were found in the academy area, the special hide the protagonist had needed a more skilled hand. He mentioned an old friend, an experienced tailor who had been forced to open a hidden shop in the Lower Street many years ago. This tailor had mastered his craft over decades and enjoyed unique challenges. As they walked through tighter alleyways, they entered an area called Chasm Street. It was filled with shops that ignored the city's rules. The people here wore masks, staying anonymous. Despite the relaxed setting, the senior figure saw value in it, suggesting that controlled indulgence could be useful if managed with discipline. Suddenly, a phone rang nearby. The senior figure answered it, received a message, and handed the protagonist a card with an owl's head on it. He said he had to leave for an urgent meeting and trusted the protagonist to visit the tailor alone. He assured him the shop was hidden but noticeable at the street's end, and the tailor would know what to do upon seeing the card. The final phase toward becoming a gentleman had begun. The protagonist stood at the threshold of transformation, where the skin acquired through trials was now to be tailored into a suit, something far beyond clothing. This suit served as both armor and connection, allowing its wearer to step into the dangerous gray zone, face unknown threats, and interact directly with the powerful growth system. It also let the individual assess their own condition, growing stronger with each mission. Though this first suit marked only the beginning, it could be upgraded or even remade using skin collected from future tasks. The protagonist entered a spacious room lined with mirrors. Unlike the first floor filled with eerie human statues, this floor resembled a dance studio. By simply standing in the center, his entire body data was captured through reflections, physical traits, emotional disposition, everything. The tailor, a man named Coral Ivan, had once been part of the organization but now worked independently, choosing clients carefully. He was surprised that someone with such unique skin was sent to him secretly. When the protagonist shared his past, especially defeating infected enemies as a normal human and selecting the rare purple letter, Ivan realized this was no ordinary client. He prepared for a complex, 24-hour process of creating a fully customized suit. The protagonist was allowed to sleep inside, now marked as a guest, protected from the stone statues below, and reminded to keep complete silence in the tailor's domain.